sometimes you're better off starting your column at the bottom and working up, because an old dressmaker's trick, I'll try and show you, you've cut a skirt pattern on the bias. Okay, that's the skirt, there's the bias. It's what fat ladies love. I wear them all the time because the fabric stretches. It's wonderful. But if I cut the front and back exactly the same, what would happen when I sew my seams is this seam would droop down here and end up like that. So to counteract that, what dressmakers do is they cut this part of the pattern in the opposite direction, like that. And the bias is running that way. And I have to group the two of these. So, last two, that one and that one. I go and group that. Thank you. Then I want to turn that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I then stitch this one, which has got the bias running in the opposite direction, to this one. And can you see how my two biases oppose one another? I'll still get drop on this long side, but nothing like as much as I would have done had I put the two biases together. The same thing happens in machine embroidery. You use a bias angle on the bias of the fabric, and it's going to distort the fabric in the direction of that bias angle. So you use an opposite bias angle. And if you remember, in the previous one I used a fill direction of 90, then 45, then 135. 135 is the opposite bias direction of 45. Okay? And that helps to counteract the awful push-pull that stitching on the bias creates. So if you know you're going to be stitching down a 45-degree angle on your fabric, and to find that out you get your square of fabric. So there's your square of fabric, and you pull that corner, that one there, and you pull that corner. And that's your area of greatest stretch, right across there. Or you pull this corner and that corner, because that's also your area of greatest stretch, because that's your 135. Okay? But if you're cutting anything on the 45 and you want another piece to go with it, you cut it so as the bias angle is 135. And that kills the really bad stretchiness, because you're marrying the two opposite sides of the bias together on the seams. So as one is trying to escape downhill, the other one is trying to escape uphill. And so they end up creating, if not exactly a 0 degree, a much more stable seam. And the same thing happens in machine embroidery. You've got to create a more stable surface for the fabric. So think about that, okay? I want you to do these exercises. I want you to see how push-pull affects things. And then I want you to finish up with one more column in embossed fill. So we'll go to the embossed fill, and this time we'll do a decently wide one. We'll make it over the inch. Okay. I use my control key and highlight that one. I'll go into the embossed fills. Patch 1. Patch 2. And that looks like it might cause some bother. We'll go for that one. And set your stitch spacing for 4.3. And then go into your underlay. And it says edge run and weave. Tell that OK. Then go and outline that. OK. And there's your outline. It says it's going to pull in on this side and that side. I tend to agree with it. Now, what it doesn't allow for is the fact that it's going to splay out at top and bottom. So I want you to stitch those, and I want you to bear in mind the dressmaker's trick with bias angles when they're making clothes. You never sew two 45 degrees together, because if you do, you end up with an awful drag. Let's rotate that back again. There we go. You've got to create that cross for the angle. Okay? So that's front skirt, back skirt. I'll just move this one down out of the way a bit. Oh, fiddlesticks, go away. Move. There you go. So you get a clearer idea of what I'm on about. If I move that over there, cancel. It's my own fault. I know I shouldn't actually do that. One. We move you over here, so as you can see. And that's your bias. And of course, that's your bias. Your 90 degree, you've still got stretch on that, but not as much. And on your 0 degree, because it's the weft, you will find there's some stretch there, but it's nowhere near as much stretch as on the 45. Okay? And you've got to bear all that in mind when you are outlining things like satin columns. And you've got to watch out for the pooching out at the top, which it does do, splays out, so you can end up with rounded corners on the top, and you get the waspy belt effect in the middle, the old-fashioned girdle, which incidentally I never wore. Could never see the point in it. I was so broad-framed, you couldn't give me a waist if you wanted. Do those, please. And Stephen, I want to see evidence. I'd like you to stitch them out. I'd like you to digitize them. I'm not giving you these files. I want you to do it. And I'd like to see some photographs of the before and the after. In other words, a screenshot of your digitizing and then a photograph of the actual stitch outs. No cheating. No little teeny short ones. The effect's not so bad on that. And you can also, if you want, I know I didn't say it, you can make these on the angle. So do a sheet of uprights or a hoop full of uprights, and then do, in fact I think I will just highlight all those. No. All these. Thank you. Copy. New. Paste. I didn't want you. So all of that stop. Get rid of that one. Get rid of these. Delete those. And get rid of these. delete, delete, thank you, and go and select that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we'll take the last 4 here. Come on. Thank you. Drag those down here. Right. Move him over in this direction. Twizzle in the middle. And put him at a 20 degree. Was that 20? Oh, come on. Won't tell me now. Let's move him over. Click him again, get the rotate handles, and click him around to 45. Let's move you along there. Click into this one. And we'll take you down to 35. I went too far there, didn't I? Okay. $35. Well, 36. I couldn't get it on 35. Put him there. And click in the center again. And put this one on. That kind of angle. And compare and see how they behave on your fabric. It's the only way you're going to learn. Give you a bit more room. There we go, and then we can just spread these out. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And don't forget, these are all different densities and underlays. And then stitch the 2 lots, and this one you can also turn, because so many people do make embossed satin stitch shapes, and then they can't understand why it is they got gapsiosis. And of course, the minute you turn it, you alter bits and bobs in it. But it can't be helped. Didn't take its black line, which means I hadn't grouped them. Oh, I didn't give it a black line. Right. That line. Okay. There's its black line. Right. And I want to see evidence. And that means photographs of stitch outs. So I'm finishing this video here.